Welcome to Casey Cares, the voice of Kansas City nonprofits. We share the stories of local nonprofits and the individuals who drive them. At Casey Cares, we connect the nonprofit and the business sectors to enhance the quality of life for those in Kansas City, for both our residents and our visitors. This Casey Cares segment was brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation, www.kauffman.org. Welcome to Casey Cares Ask the Expert, our monthly feature providing all kinds of information to help nonprofits and the people around the sector. We like to shine a light on the people and the organizations who are making a real difference in our community and beyond. And I'm so glad to welcome to the podcast Allison Bajracharya, Chief Impact Officer for the Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation. The Kauffman Foundation is doing incredible work to advance equitable economic mobility through grant making, research, and programs that help individuals and communities learn, work, and thrive. Today, we're diving into the world of philanthropy and grant making, and we'll also talk about the Foundation's exciting new Uncommon Leader Visionary Award, an initiative designed to recognize bold leadership and innovative thinking that can create lasting impact in our community. Well, from entrepreneurship and workforce development to college access and completion, the Kauffman Foundation continues to invest in opportunities that help people build brighter futures. And Allison is helping lead the way every day. Allison, welcome back. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you so much, Ruth. It's an honor to be here.
Well, it's been a little while since we've had you on the podcast, so we need to kind of catch up. Chief Impact Officer, your job is just like blown up and developed in all of this. Give us kind of that, high level, what's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, thank you for having me, Ruth. It's hard to believe it's been almost 2 years since I first jumped into this role and we spoke. Part of my charge when I came into this role was to create a new approach and philosophy to our grant making. So we started with that in the spring of 2024, and we rolled out our grant making philosophy. And then we rolled out a number of new grant pathways. So I get the grand pleasure of leading the team that reviews grant applications, that engages with grantees, and then makes recommendations for how we move and advance our grant making work. And also work collaboratively across the foundation on awards like this Visionary Award. So this is sort of part of our impetus of really elevating our vision around making Kansas City a national model for economic mobility. And we have lots of tools in our toolbox, grant making being one of them, but this opportunity, especially this award, is really a unique opportunity to lift up leaders who are so critical to the success of our communities.
Would you take a moment or two and kind of reflect on the philosophy of grant making and how that shifted yet stayed in the vision, I think, of Mr. K?
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. K was absolutely an uncommon and entrepreneurial leader. And so we've really tried to stay true to his values related to that, and also recognize the importance of really foregrounding impact in Kansas City. So under Dr. D'Angela Burns-Wallace's leadership, we ushered in a new strategic plan with this 2035 vision of making Kansas City a national model for economic mobility. And then what I've been able to do is think about how do we bring that to life through grant making, through convening, through awards. And what we want to do in doing that is, one, add more consistency and clarity to our grant making pathways. So we now have pathways that are articulated on our website, and as we get more clarity on the timelines and the criteria, we try to communicate that really broadly. So that is a distinction in how we previously made grants, which also had many strengths. But in this approach, everyone can know when upcoming pathways are open and anyone can apply. The benefit of that is we're able to cast a very wide net. The trade-off is that we have to make really hard decisions, and we say no to many good organizations. But when we're reviewing applications, we're really thinking about how do we meet organizations where they are on this path to economic mobility? How do we make sure we're staying really close and proximate to what's in play? What are the challenges that leaders and organizations and communities are grappling with in the context of economic mobility? How do we really create the conditions for hope? We know that hope is so important to ultimately get to impact. And how do we create the space for people to try new things and think about what's possible instead of just what's probable? So those are some of the parameters we're really trying to enable in our grant making. And then as we review grant applications, are also thinking about, where are there organizations that are really trying to apply new approaches to long-term challenges? Where are there organizations that are really thinking thoughtfully and intentionally about partnership? And how are they really trying to grow from where they are to even more enduring and long-lasting impact?
It's interesting to me to reflect on your having come here 2 years ago. In that 2 year frame of time, there have been administrative changes at the
Yeah,
national level.
yeah,
There have been economic shifts. There have been wars around the world. We were still, I think, bouncing out of COVID.
yeah.
How is all of that kind of entered into what the foundation has tried to do in this area?
It's a good question. It's certainly been a challenging time for many nonprofits, especially as federal funding and public funding has shifted. And it's always a little bit challenging to decide how do we know what's in play now versus what may be in play a year from now or 2 years from now. And recognizing that we have so many assets in the region that we want to be able to grow to get to this impact. We've tried to create some flexibility in our grant making. So we have a capacity grant, for example, that's really intended for organizations that want to build capacity in whatever means makes the most sense to them. As long as those organizations are aligned with our vision and our strategic priorities, we encourage them to apply with flexibility in mind. So if they need resources to grow their fundraising strategy or to think about governance or to innovate with AI, capacity dollars are one way to be really flexible and innovative. And we've advanced 3 rounds of capacity grants in a year and a half. So not only are we trying to create flexibility, but we've really tried to move quickly and consistently so that grantees, depending on where they are in their evolution, can access those dollars in ways that benefit them and the people they're serving. We've also tried to create opportunities for long-term impact, recognizing there's a lot of organizations, in spite of the challenges they're facing, that are onto something, and because of the challenges and opportunities, they want to go deeper or innovate more or try to scale. And so we have project grants around that. We work closely with our research, learning, and evaluation team to think about what are the challenges our grantees are grappling with most, and how do we know those adequately and accurately and thoughtfully, given how quickly everything is changing.
You're right.
So we do a lot of focus groups and surveying and just relationship building in general, really trying to be in community as much as we can. And with those insights, then identify some key research questions we're trying to address through research grants or through partnerships with thoughtful research partners. And then finally, we also have a collective impact grant, where recognizing in this moment especially, coordination, collaboration, alignment across systems is really needed to get to systems level change. We've created an opportunity for coalitions to apply for large scale funding to address some of the challenges that are deepest and most pressing in our community. So we are trying to, really stay attuned to how are things playing out, be flexible where we can, but also be consistent and aligned with our vision that allows organizations, to know that they have a trusting partner out there who wants to help advance their great work.
What are you hearing from organizations since you are out in the community and you have certain uh, boulevards
Yeah.
for grant making, but
Yeah.
as you're having these conversations, what are you hearing out there?
I get to hear a lot of positive news, which I feel so grateful and lucky about because there's not enough positive news in our world.
Right.
But I hear a lot of stories anecdotally about how funding has helped organizations advance what they're doing or even just create the space to step back and think differently. There's also concurrently a lot of concern and maybe some cautious optimism about AI and what does this mean? Like, how do we change but stay true to who we are? There's a real growing appetite around partnerships, not in a way that, partnerships can be surface level, but really a desire to say, like, we've identified some new organizations that are doing work that complements our work in really great ways? How can we partner even more deeply? And then we also hear the challenges. Like we definitely don't want to be tone deaf. Our work is only done well when we can really stay true to what's in play. And we know, again, funding and questions around federal and sometimes state funding too are just not as easy to navigate as maybe they once were. And so trying to be thoughtful about how to connect partners to reliable sources of information. And then on our end, we can control, including when are our grant making pathways and what can people expect in terms of timelines. But I think in spite of a lot of negativity that is playing out in headlines and a lot of real challenges that people are facing, there's also so many stories of hope and opportunity and growth playing out for students, for families, as they're thinking about how do we grow businesses and access capital in new ways, or how can we maybe take advantage of some of the opportunities that are playing out in local nonprofits to get even better workforce training or find some jobs. There is definitely a lot of fear and a lot of challenge, but I want to reinforce that there's hope because I think that's so important as people think about what's next and how do we contribute even more collectively to what's possible for this next generation of leaders.
In your work, what are you hearing particularly from the wide educational arena? I know that a goal, maybe that's not the right word choice, but a priority has always been from Kauffman Foundation is how to lift up and move that high school student onto opportunity, college bound, or at least additional education. And now with everything, oh my gosh, just skyrocketing in price. So how are you navigating and being a thought leader in that area?
It is something we're trying to grow our capacity in for sure, because I think it is a needed resource. There are great organizations locally. What's happening with Casey Scholars as they're working with local university partners to ensure students in the region are leveraging scholarships and getting ongoing coaching and support is really exciting. But there's a number of other entities as well that are recognizing, okay, if we can work with our students who are exiting high school and moving on maybe to a 2-year or 4-year program or a certificate program and provide coaching and mentorship and additional opportunities for connection, that connection really makes a difference. And so when students have somebody they trust who maybe has been through a similar experience that they've been through and sees how they've navigated through what can feel really overwhelming and intimidating, and that helps quite a bit. Also, lifting up some of the newer organizations that are really thinking about access and completion, partnership with our higher education institutions, and looking nationally too, where there's some best practices that maybe haven't grown in Kansas City yet, and how can we learn from those? And do they fit here? And if so, who would be the right partner? So trying to zoom out and zoom in. We are doing less of the work than we used to, and instead are really looking to the regional organizations that are leading in the space and trying to identify opportunities for connection and growth and creating space for innovation. Because in this moment, especially, we recognize people have to think differently. Resources are different, policies are different. Access to funding is different. And so how do we create the conditions and space for people to think really in a focused way, but innovatively and entrepreneurially, like Mr. Kauffman was embodied so well.
In this whole atmosphere, how much connection is there, let's say, with our leaders and educating them as to what you're hearing? I mean, you're boots on the ground. You're working with people, and they're very busy and, legislating or whatever.
Yeah.
So I wondered how that plays out.
It's a great question. Historically, we've done a lot of work at the federal level, especially in the entrepreneurship context, and have taken the learnings from the field, both locally and nationally, and tried to inform policy in thoughtful ways. In this current context, we are doing that, but we are spending more time at a state and local level. So we've been to both of our state capitals in recent months, sharing again some of the stories from the field that are related to entrepreneurship or college access and completion and workforce and career. In fact, an event we're hosting tonight is related to our indicators that we've been tracking. We have 30 years of data related to entrepreneurial growth, and we're bringing together regional leaders, national leaders, and some policy leaders too to share what are some of the learnings that are emerging, where is there opportunity for more collaboration and even greater leadership. So definitely trying to stay connected and both to our grantees and leaders on the ground and at the policy level to figure out how can we make more distinct connections.
And of course, everybody can go and find out all your grant making on the website, which is Kauffman.org. So I would encourage people to go there. And what I find happens to me is I'll see something on a news related thing, and I get lost over there when I was, trying to look over here. So it's just replete with all kinds of great information. What would you say is the biggest takeaway for you celebrating a 2-year anniversary, in what you've been doing?
That's a great question. I feel so lucky to be in the place where I am. I get to work with amazing colleagues internally who are really committed to our mission, but really understanding more deeply as somebody who grew up in Kansas City, lived away for over 20 years and coming back. This city has so many gifts and so many assets, being able to figure out how do we learn more about all the stories that are out there, but also provide resources and different opportunities to lift those up in the face of challenge, but also in the face and spirit of hope and economic mobility. So I think continuing to sort of remove myself from expectations, be really open to what's possible, and connecting with as many great people as possible, just to make sure we're fully aware of what's out there and think about how do we remove barriers so these fantastic leaders and organizations can do even more is really important.
All right, let's pivot to this award.
Right.
But this is not the first award that the Kauffman Foundation has done. So let's clarify for our audience a little bit about what was and now what is.
Yeah. It is a new award period. So we just rolled it out for the first time last year. The Uncommon Leader Award is sort of the umbrella name. When we rolled out our grant making, we recognized that, again, in addition to offering grants, there are incredible leaders who are doing really, really hard work, and they don't get recognized nearly enough. And so could we present an opportunity for an award that is distinct from other awards that are out there? Because there are several organizations that offer fantastic awards. And we wanted to, again, stay very true to our mission and the values of Mr. Kauffman. So last year, we did roll out the Uncommon Award, the Impact Award, which was very intentionally focused on non-C-suite leaders, recognizing that leaders who may not be the ultimate decision maker are still so critical to the work of advancing economic mobility. So that was a really beautiful, fun, open nomination process that we opened last summer, and then we celebrated the finalists and awardees in December, and it was a very, very special occasion. This year, we are saying, okay, in addition to those non-C-suite leaders, we want to recognize the C-suite leaders. So this is an opportunity to recognize the Uncommon Visionary Award, is what we're calling it, which has a small distinction because it really is focused on either the executive leader or somebody who reports to the executive leader. So the decision makers who are really who've been in the trenches for a while, who are focused on systems level impact and really thoughtful partnership. And advancing organizations that help to advance economic mobility in Kansas City. So it is, again, an open nomination process because we know the community knows best in this context. And so who are those leaders that you may know because your kids are on the soccer field together, or because you get to go to a board meeting with them, or because you had dinner at an event recently? They do need to be full-time at a nonprofit. They do need to be the decision maker or report to the decision maker. And you need to really focus on equity and collaboration and think entrepreneurially and lead towards impact. But it is an open nomination process. And then through those nominations, we have an anonymous committee that will review those and lead to recommendations so that at the end of September, we're going to celebrate one ultimate awardee and 4 finalists.
Well, we should mention this is not just a plaque or a
No,
certificate.
it's not.
So let's talk a little bit about that because I
Yeah.
think that's very exciting.
Yeah, it is intended to be game changing. When we were designing this award, we thought a lot about the impact other national awards have, like the MacArthur Award. If you are a researcher
Right.
or a thought leader and you get the MacArthur Award, that changes your trajectory. In Southern California, there's the Irvine Leadership Award, and that's comes with a very nice cash gift. And so we wanted to honor those elements of not only lifting up really critical leaders, but how can we offer something that feels potentially game changing. And so the winner will receive $75,000 as an award to themselves, and then $150,000 a grant to their organization. So I'm just going to pause.
Wow.
Significant.
That's
Uh,
huge.
yeah, $75,000 can really make a significant difference in the life of a leader. So $75,000 to an individual and then $150,000 to the organization. The four top finalists will also receive awards, which is so exciting. So they will receive 10,000 as an individual and 15,000 to their organization. Again, really potentially transformative. So we're excited about this opportunity. I come from a place of just so much gratitude and feel so lucky that we get to do this amazing work. And I'm going to turn my light back on. and
There you know, folks, it's live.
and really truly excited and want to encourage everyone to stay tuned, to nominate people, and to follow along on our social media. And if you're not already on our email listserv, please sign up because that is where you'll get up-to-date information on this award and upcoming awards in future years.
Will these two awards continue, or will you more look at creating different awards?
No, our intent is to continue. I won't quite say they will continue in perpetuity, but our intent is to continue. I think we're really excited to celebrate and lift up leaders, and we know that there are many. So our idea is that we will rotate between the awards every other year. That may adjust over time as we continue to learn from the process, but we want to create a regular cadence. And we know there's a big pipeline of people we want to continue to build from and lift up and tell their stories so others can find community in that, find connection in that, and find hope in that.
Well, I know Mr. K would smile. He would love this and to see, who you recognize and even the people in the pipeline. Very, very exciting. What at this moment in time do you think where you sit is the biggest challenge in the grant making and overall your strategic plan?
I think as we've done 9 rounds of grants in the last year and a
Oh
half,
my gosh, that's a lot.
it's a lot. And we've uncovered there's some really exciting work in play. And, I started with this notion that we are trying to be very clear and open about who can apply for our grants. And that allows us to really cast a wide net and to continue to support some of our previous grantees, but also learn about new potential grantees. The trade-off, though, and the real challenge is that we do have to say no to great organizations. And because of the volume, that is a hard game, especially in this moment where people really are going
Hmm.
for what's happening next and how do I think long term when I need to think short term. So honoring that, recognizing those challenges are real, and making decisions that continue to advance impact and innovation and connection to community and systems change so that we get to this place of economic mobility are a tremendous honor, but also a tremendous challenge.
It's got to be hard to get that no, especially with an organization that you've worked with over time. What's the relationship, I guess, once you have to say goodbye? Is there any kind of well, here we have some suggestions for you, even though we can't fund you?
Yeah, it is a bit of a balancing act, and I think this is where we grapple with the realities for sure. So we do provide some high level feedback. We want everybody to have a learning opportunity. We are not able to provide specific organization by organization feedback because of the volume, and that's really hard, especially for
Yeah.
organizations that have benefited from our grants in the past. So I do not want to sugarcoat that by any means. I've been on the receiving end. I came into this role, it's my first time in philanthropy. And so it's been over 20 years in the nonprofit space applying for lots of grant dollars and know how hard it is to receive a no. And to balance that, we really are trying to be very clear and consistent. And so a no doesn't mean no forever, unless you're not aligned with our mission or our priority areas. If you are, then we will try to provide high-level feedback that's actionable, and encourage people to apply again, for sure. And it is one thing to say that, it's a lot harder to hear that. And I recognize that, our team recognizes that. And so we try to do it with intentionality and empathy, but I know that still comes with challenge.
Well, as you said, you've swum in the sea for a long time, and you've been part of writing grants, et cetera. How would you kind of quickly describe your application process? I mean, I go to development people and it's grant deadline. They roll their eyes, their hair's falling out.
Yeah.
So tell us about how yours works.
Sure. So one, I'll just preview, we are about to update our grant making windows for the next year. So in the next 2 weeks, our website will be updated with more specifics. So I encourage everyone again to monitor our website or sign up for email or social media. And once a window opens, then you can access the application online. And so you can go back and forth into that application as much as needed until the deadline. So our application windows tend to be a month or 6 weeks, but we also give advance timelines and also will publish our questions in a PDF document. So a grant writer who may not be in the weeds every day like some of the other team members because they're in the weeds of writing applications can then workshop it with their team and say, okay, these are the questions. I know these answers. I don't know these answers. So they can think through it proactively. We also really, again, want to meet grantees and applicants where they are. And so we offer office hours. We do recordings online so people can get information. And then we try to update our FAQs as we see themes emerge from the questions that come. And then people can also always email. We have a generic email address that they can email, and we will respond to that fairly quickly with answers because we don't want anybody to be left in the dark. That's frustrating, and we would never want that to be an ongoing experience.
Well, thank you for making all those resources available. That's great, because when you're sitting there at 11 o'clock at night, maybe you've got one day left, at least there's somewhere folks can go and try to get those answered, quickly and move on through the process.
And Ruth, I will say we are a work in progress. And so we've really tried to create questions that are clear and have time parameters so people aren't spending too much time, because we want, most importantly, for organizations to be focused on the work on the ground. But if there's feedback people have, how do we make this better or clearer and more succinct or not redundant? We want to hear it. So definitely share that with us as well, please.
Allison, thank you for spending time with us talking about grant banking and awards and all the great work of the Kauffman Foundation.
Thank you, Ruth. I love what a resource you are to the community, and it's really an honor to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to share and look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Thank you for joining us on KC Cares. We're produced by a nonprofit as well called Charitable Communications. And this KC Cares segment was brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation, www.kauffman.org. Now, if you want to be a guest or to find out other information about the podcast, go to our website. It is kccaresonline.org. And spread the love. You'll find us on Facebook and Twitter at KC Cares Radio. And on Instagram, we're at KC Cares Online. And don't forget, Saturday mornings at 8 a.m., you can catch us on ESPN 1510 and 94.5 FM. Thanks for joining us on KC Cares.